Brendan Donelson, welcome to the Mortgage Rainmaker podcast. I have been pumped to have you on here because you and I talk constantly and you've got so many ideas. You've got passion oozing out of you. And I just feel so lucky to have you in my life. You're the big brother I never knew I wanted. I think that's what you tell me. That I always wanted.
Yes.
And you not only are a killer friend and you pour so much love and energy into my life, but I'm always learning from you. You have such an incredible, unique perspective. You've been in sales for over 30 years. You've originated successfully. You called me one day and said, Shayla, I got my Social Security letter in the mail. And you know how it tells you how much money you made every single year and how much you've paid into Social Security? I made you do the average. And I think your average income as a loan officer branch manager in the mortgage industry over 30 years per the Social Security letter is over $600,000 a year. So you're not just somebody who figured out how to be a one-hit wonder, have a couple good years, make it work in certain markets. You've been a guy who's created success year after year after year. And that to me is the sign of a true champion, because you're constantly having to reinvent. I can't even imagine what it was like 30 years ago, knowing we were originating on fax machines, we didn't have Google, to where we're at now with AI and being on video. So you've been through a lot of seasons, you've been through a lot of markets, and you've still got a smile on your face. So how the heck do you still enjoy originating 30 years in? Because let's just tell everybody where you're at. It's 2025. You work with me now at Gill Mortgage in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. You've personally originated $17 million in business through the month of April.
17.9.
17.9, brother.
Almost 18, yeah.
And you got maybe one LOA you're training up. I mean, you're kind of soloing it with a great processor and branch ops team. So how do you still have fun, and where's the success coming from? Tell us about your business.
God, what a great intro. And I always remember you coming in that coaching program, 2010, you were pregnant, frizzy hair, trying to figure it out. And like, look at you now. So here's the thing. It's always pinch me moment when it's like you and I connected. We talked about some basic stuff in presenting. That's what drew me back into your world of like, hey, what are you doing? And I think when you say, how come you're successful? It always goes down to like the little stuff. And I know that there's a book, I'm going to give you a little controversy right out of the gate. The book, it's like not the how, but the who. Here's my tip number one. I don't necessarily agree with that for a loan officer who could be watching this. I think it's very much in the how you're doing things. It is very much. My trainer, 56-year-old ex-military, when you're on the Bosu ball and your posture's off, he's like, this isn't some crazy, it's how you're doing it, Brendan. Get your chin up, hold the kettlebell like this. And when you do it how he wants you to do it, all of a sudden, 17 other muscles come into play and you're sweating, standing, going, wait a minute, this is different than the way I practice it when no one's watching. So it's how you do things. So I think in the how, I've always been kind of addicted to the how is it done? Not how much someone's doing, but how are they doing it? And I get fascinated in that. And I think that my, in the culture index test and your rainmaker test, I'm a rainmaker. In the culture index test, I'm a rainmaker. And one of the things that I test very high in is a lack of conformity. So Shayla, my conformity is literally a 1, and 10 means conforming and 0 means so my conformity button is way low. So that kind of leaves me to, if we're up on a mountain and you're like, hey, the black diamonds are here. I'm like, well, we're going off the backside, Shayla. There's no sign over there. Let's go that way. It can get me into trouble, but it also, for loan officers watching, I think the number one thing I was always drawn to was a presentation. It started with like Joe Stump, by referral only, 1996. Saw him on a hotel stage. He blew me away. I was laughing. I was almost crying. And then he was talking about, hey, your tools, it's like a golf bag. You don't use a wedge on the tee box. You use a driver. And when you're in the fairway, you use a 3-iron or do a 7-iron. And when you're on the green, you use a putter. And so he said, hey, you've got to have tools in your bag. And so that kind of started the idea of, okay, when I started, rates had gone back up. The first rate I ever sold was 9.25. And rates had been down. So there was a refi boom from 92 to 94. Well, I got in the business at the end of 94. And like everybody was like, how could you get in the business when rates went back up? And so the big thing that I was always around people that were presenting, and Joe Stump taught me that. And he's still out there training realtors and loan officers. And I do believe that the mindset of your presentation matters not only to your client, but to your realtor. And we're seeing all the most successful people in our industry year after year are really good at presenting to realtors, really good at presenting to clients. And that constant back and forth mix creates that consistency and that volume. True story, like I was talking to Allison yesterday. She's going through a little ops crisis, but she's closing 30 loans this month, 40 next month. She's insane. Like that realtor presentation is amazing. She needs to work on her ops, but there's always that fun part of like, wow, our business is a month-to-month business. Our paycheck is directly corollary to our value that we provide, not only to our clients, but to our realtors and our financial planners. So that's like, how could you not get excited that like when the shit hits the fan and people leave you and offices turn over and there's things like, okay, time to rebuild, like you, 2022, 2023, whoa, okay, time to rebuild, put a smile on. And like, you just either have that resilient nature to like change and go, okay, what is it that I'm doing that's not working? Have some self-awareness. And then I always go back to true story this morning, first time, my cleaner with some of my properties referred her nephew. He came in this morning, 27 years old. He brought a friend. We did a smart start at 8:30. And the fun part about it is that smart start's visual. And then I started explaining something. And then I really honed in on one last thing. I wrote some notes to myself and I said, this needs to change. Like the close on why they would hire us to enter the game. And I want to do this a little bit later and tell people how they could do it, whether you're an amazing originator or a new. And I was like, ooh, that's one more little thing to set a hook in that initial client meeting as to why hire Shayla when her rate's 1/4 or 0.5% higher. And I think I've got a little, I want to keep tweaking it and keep sharing it because why not, right? Like you and I, you were in that seat closing 900 loans. Now you're in the seat of spread the word. Here's the systems. Here's the tools. And like, the seat, right? I mean, you could jump back in tomorrow if you wanted to. And it's like, there's a lot of chaos in it, but that's where the fun is too. So how do I stay in this business 30 years, still be excited? Influencing clients, like changing this guy this morning, his trajectory, helping realtors and financial planners with their careers. We were talking about it on our locker room sales call at 10 before this call. Like, how do we really add value to realtors' lives? Influencing you, helping each other, writing stuff, having like presentation material that like could be used by anyone, writing a little book, just that stuff. Our industry lets you do and there's so many creatives in our industry that are doing what they want to do, you included. So there it is. Some days I do this. This is, I'm having a bad day and everybody knows I'm pissed. I go like this. I love my job. I love it.
For everyone listening to this podcast as they're driving the car and they're not getting to see Brendan hold up the book that he's written and the packets, the Smart Start packet that he's created. And then he's putting his fingers right on the corner of his mouth and forcing a smile and say, some days I just have to force this smile every day. Okay, what I took away from that, how do you stay excited 30 years, is that you become obsessed with continual improvement. And that you become fascinated and curious about how. And I think that if we always stay in that rookie mindset, we always stay in there's something I can learn here.
Yeah.
That's when it stays fun. When we get to the point of, I know it all, I've heard this before, yeah, that's when our ego is kicked in and we are just a pile of negativity. And listen, I think we all go there, and Brendan and I could both say we've been to workshops, we've sat in things in the day, and we're doing nothing but judging and picking somebody apart.
A little bit.
And the only person that suffers is ourselves being in that stinking thinking mindset, right? It's really quickly recognizing, ooh, I've lost my luster. I've lost my zest. And you know what? The market's kicking my butt. I've got to rebuild. What am I going to do? Am I going to sit in the corner and cry about it? Or am I going to wag my tail and get excited and get curious again? And I think that was how we reconnected, is that, you and I both have built branches. I had to lay off a ton of people. We've been through different cycles.
Yeah.
And it was early 2023 and you're going, all right, hey, what are you doing for your presentation? How are you providing value? And it was just simply off of an Instagram video. We had been separated for over 10 years. And I was in the same mode. I was trying to find my mojo again and find my juice. And I've always said, it's not sexy to be stressed out. And I will never be a rich and grumpy person. We've been way too blessed for that. So I catch myself when I get there, and trust me, it happens often. And that's when you force a smile. But the tactic really is to remain curious and always realize that no matter how good that you've gotten at something, there's something to learn and iterate and create, and there's lives to change. So I want to just stay on your personal production business another moment though, because you said to me in reflection, you've closed 28 transactions on only 75 referrals. So that's an incredible closing ratio. How do you think that's happened? And what have you done intentionally over the last year, 2 years, or 30 years that's gotten that magic to happen?
So I think here's the simple answer. There are 3 parts to a client getting a mortgage.
Okay.
There are 3 parts. And part 1 is the silo called how to apply for a loan.
Right.
So if you're a loan officer listening, there's 100,000 of us left, right? 110,000. Every mortgage company in America, every credit union, every mortgage broker has a link to apply. And this is where the modern, an AI thing could take over. And if you said, I want to buy a $400,000 home, this column here can handle it.
Right.
Great. The middle column is when someone's buying a home and they want to get a mortgage. I found that most people want advice and counsel.
Yeah.
So the middle column, I call that my smart start. And Shayla, whether you're a first-time move up, relocating buyer, senior buyer, investment property buyer, or an expert buyer, that's how I've categorized the lead matrix or the referral matrix. You want advice and counsel. So I position the value for me in the marketplace, because I think we get paid on our value we provide. I say this, in column 2, not every lender in column 1 has a meeting set up for advice and counsel. So Rocket Mortgage, online lenders, they hire low-paid people to just really help you with number 1. And if it gets any more complex or there's advice, you don't know. They could have worked at Domino's the week before, not dissing Domino's employees. They don't have the experience. And so if people who are listening to this, you want to get wealthy, you're already wealthy, you're making a couple $100,000, trust me, your advice and counsel in column 2, if positioned properly, creates leverage. Now, at the end of column 2, if you were in the Brendan school of less leads, higher closing ratio, I want to work smarter, smart start. At the end of that 45-minute to hour meeting, there is a buying decision. The buying decision is, are they buying you as their loan officer? Know this. If your thought is, most of my leads come in on a Thursday, referred by a realtor, wanting to make an offer on a Saturday, and everything's hurry up, and I don't have, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. That's probably 10% of your leads that you now have masked into, you think that's every lead.
Right.
Most leads are not going to write an offer inside of 90 days. So then you have plenty of time to have that meeting. And then at the end of the meeting, Shayla, it sounds like this. Hey, was this a productive meeting? Did we answer the questions the boxes that you checked? Great. Was this helpful? Cool. Well, cool. I have a homework page. We had 3 things that came up with you and Galen that you need to do. And we talked about pre-qualification, pre-approval, or upfront loan commitment. First, second, third, or first, second, third base. And it appears to me that you guys want, your lease ends in July. So what I'm going to recommend is, and this is how I sell it, and pause for 1 second, because this is super important. This is true. Guess what? The best loan officers, and I'm not going to name anybody, but somebody that I was recently talking to, pre-approved a client on second base. They got declined on Monday and they're supposed to close Friday.
Right.
Because it went through underwriting. So this is my sales pitch. What I say to clients is pre-qualification is kind of a napkin. Pre-approval is my opinion with my local processor and my local team and my knowledge. And sometimes I don't trust myself, Shayla. And you have a very large commission. Galen, you're day trading. I want to figure out with my underwriter, who's the ultimate judge, sounds like you're going to make an offer inside of a year. So we want to take you to third base, do our upfront loan commitment program, and here are all the benefits. We don't have to make up our mind today. I want to send you the mortgage scale and some detailed homework, and let's decide on Friday whether you should enter that program or not. By the way, if a loan officer gives column 2 awesome value, people want to commit to something, or they say, hey, I'm good on second base. I'm still shopping you. I've got a bid out to my Merrill Lynch guy because I got money over there, blah, blah. Okay, great. What are they going to say to the realtor if you give that client 45 minutes? Shayla was awesome. Brendan was awesome. It was really helpful. I'm still going to stick with Merrill Lynch because it's a leveraged loan. But man, they really taught me some stuff, and I might use them because Merrill doesn't do investor property loans. I might use them in the future. Thank you again for referring me to that person. Because everybody's like, my time. If I do this, I mean, how can I do that? And then, then do column 1, a 15-minute fluff on the phone. You're pre-approved, and then lose them later anyways.
Right.
Here's the power. Column 3. Shayla, when you and Galen decide to enter the marketplace, did you ever see the Gladiator movie when they put on the stuff? They're in the Coliseum, but they're in the tunnel, and there's the metal gate. Yeah. And out on that sand pit with everybody cheering and animals flying and spears, that's when you enter the game. So before you commit to me, this is what I want to say. If you enter my loan commitment program, this is where I do battle, column 3. This is where I shine. Last week, we got a client who entered the upfront commitment program, a $799 listing. They locked the contract for $735. They were up against someone else. We're closing in 10 days. If my interest rate is 0.5% higher than anybody else, but I save them $65,000 communicating with the realtor, strategizing the offer, we can refinance later. I don't care where my interest rates are. And by the way, they don't, and they're buying me a closing gift. So what I want to promise you is this. If you hire me for column 3 to help you execute and I become your advocate, I can make up any interest rate difference that you find from your friend in Cleveland who's a broker that you call last minute by the sheer fact of committing to you and helping you in this arena, because this is where the money's won. And by the way, we're very competitive, but I can't match low rate offers. At this point, it's up to you. I mean, you can close. By the way, I don't do that normally if I'm doing that with you. I'm just kind of like, if you put that level of conviction and you show someone, here are the 3 parts, and the third part is where it gets real, because you know it, you're like nodding your head. You know when clients, it's fake, and then all of a sudden you get the phone call, hey, we found the property. Shayla, and then all of a sudden it's game time. But here's the problem. You pre-qualified them or you pre-approved them. Now they're super stressed out and you didn't figure out Galen's income and you're like, well, I'll write the letter anyways. Call the realtor. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Yeah, 15% down. Sounds good. And then there's not a lot of leverage. By the way, we all make up our pre-approval letters on Word. Dear John, Shayla Gifford here, closed 900 loans in 2021. I am so good at what I do. By the way, this client is really, really, really approved.
Right.
Garbage.
Okay. So what I need to pull apart here that was so good is that you have joy and you're still smiling because you believe firmly in your process that
Yes.
it is valuable for a client.
Yes.
I think we won't go out and sell ourselves if we don't think that what we do for a client is valuable. Like, it's not about you being valuable. It's about the experience is actually going to do something that will change their life in some way, even if they don't work with us.
Correct.
So you believe so firmly that if you sit down with your cleaner's nephew and give him 45 minutes of your time, your value, your expertise, your wisdom, you put him through a process of understanding how it all goes, that makes you worthwhile as a professional and not have to turn around every other minute and discount your price, your comp, all of those things. So I want to say over and over again, you started out with it's not who, how. The how of your process is like that conviction has to come from my process rocks. And the other conviction is I will show up. I will show up and give to you and give you all of my knowledge and put on a smile and give the enthusiasm to get you there. But more importantly, when it really matters, when you're competing with 5 other offers, I'm going to help you win. And that's where my real value comes in. This is where I really save you money because I am going to call that listing agent. I'm going to help your buyer's agent write the most competitive offer. We've already done the upfront TBD underwrite and the loan commitment so that you can write a 10-day close or a shorter contingency or whatever you need to do. So you have this, you are able to sell from a place of confidence and authority where you do feel the fear of loss. Like, hey, it's all good if you want to try something else, but I know my market. I know how long I've been doing this. I know what it takes to win and get the right deal for your family. Right. And that confidence is what's so attractive because people want to feel safe with a professional.
You're incredible. Your summary is spot on. I forgot one little thing.
The all about you form.
So this was Eric's, and I don't even have to look at it because here's the funny part. Prompts and tools keep a professional in actor mode. He came in at 8:30, Shayla. I had the all about you. Guess what? He brought a friend. I was like, hey, who are you? What's his cousin? His cousin owns a restaurant, a Chinese Mexican fusion restaurant called Jose's Cafe. And I was like, hold, was it? So I was like, hey, why don't you fill one out too? So here's the funny thing. All I remember right now is that Eric's dream vacation is to Spain and to Paris because he's a big soccer guy. So let me say this. Confidence comes from, hey, I know over here I can deliver. And I know in column 2, I've done thousands of smart starts. So I know what we're getting ready to do in that 8:30 meeting. But when the all about you comes up for the first 10 minutes, I can really go through this and be like totally like, this is the fun part for me because I go, oh, he does have a financial planner. Wait, what's important to him about working with a lender? Working with a local, he's putting it out there for me to repeat it to him and go, wow, this is cool. I can look at, he's married with a kid, 2 kids, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. This is my fun. Because otherwise, guess what that loan app comes? Guess what page 2 becomes? It's like this drudgery of meeting with people to sell them something. I just want to answer questions. Was this helpful? The restaurant guy sat like this for the first 10 minutes of the meeting.
Arms crossed.
And then I said, hey, and I said, hey, Jose, do you own? He's like, oh yeah, I bought in 2016. And then his thing was investment property. He's got a 3.25 rate. And he was like, could I get a copy of the book? Well, hey, if you're a loan officer and you keep coming across things that bug you and you have to explain it over and over, that's why I wrote that book. Because I was telling people how to leverage, the next house. So yes, how do I keep it fun? I keep it somewhat scripted, but use tools to keep engaging me. Because this is true. If I was out of all about you forms, Shayla, guess what I would have done with Eric Mendez?
Gone all over the place and not stayed on track.
You know what I would have done? Hey, you're here for your live loan app. Tell me about your credit. Tell me about your income. Tell me about your assets. Hey, it sounds like FHA. You want to buy your house. You live at your mom's place and she moved out and she wants to sell it to you. This is a gift of equity purchase, FHA.
Right.
Okay, who cares? He's not ready to do that, by the way, anyways. It's like, point being is that if you can make it fun for yourself and interesting so that you can really provide, like, I guess, all about you, I stole in '01, but we tweaked it so that you learn about them. I don't know, that would seem to me truly on how to connect. And by the way, I think whether you use Ford or you use some technique, you got to use something. Otherwise, it's all based on how Shayla feels that morning.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like, okay, oops.
So you're very much advocating for, we are actors, we're performers, we are salespeople. It's about building genuine connection. You need to have props, you need to have tools, and you need to have process. And then you just get really good at the same meeting over and over and over again. And here you are 30 years later, still enjoying it.
Yeah.
In the power seat, you guys, because how many of you want to get your power back and not feel like, it's a commodity or whatever? Because Brendan gets the same objections that we do. What is your rate? Well, can I get that pre-approval tonight? All of those things. And he steps back into, oh, really? Well, what would make you interested about that rate? And gets back in the power seat and puts people back on the train tracks of his process because he believes in his process. And he believes in his ability to get enough leads so that he doesn't have to work with people who aren't going to be into the process. So last question on these 75 leads that turn into 28 closings so far. Out of the 75, how many of them said, yeah, I'm coming to a smart start? Like, what would you say is your conversion from a lead to meeting with you in person to do a smart start?
I would say it's a little over 50%.
Okay. And how long generally from the first phone call of a lead from a realtor, they're texting you, emailing you, whatever, you try to
planner or past client, whoever,
Right. You try to make that better, but that's just how life goes. You get the lead how you get the lead. How many days generally between you getting the lead, sending them a link, and getting them in person would you say on average?
Business days?
Sure.
I would say 4 to 5.
Okay, 4 to 5 business days. So you debunked the story we tell ourselves. Because listen, for as a long time as a loan officer, I was telling my husband, this is just the way it is. It's just super stressful. I have to take every call at 9:00 at night. Everything's hair on fire because I made it that way. And I remember him saying to me one day, you're doing this wrong. Like, it doesn't have to be like this. And I remember thinking, like, screw you. Like, you're not doing this. You have no idea how hard it is and what the demands are of people and blah, blah, blah. But then I met somebody like you and you're like, hey, most people are not going to write an offer in 24 hours.
Right.
Most people are 90 days out or further. And you're letting them control the transaction and letting the tail wag the dog instead of being in the power seat of the professional and putting them through a process. So that mindset shift alone is everything. Now you're in Nashville, Tennessee. You've sprawled a lot. You have a lot of buyers that also are moving into Tennessee. You still get people to drive across town and come in and meet with you, huh?
Yeah. I mean, let's say this. We're on Zoom. You could meet on Zoom. To me, back to the 1, 2, 3, hey, set up and then the meeting. If you feel like you're in San Diego or Washington, D.C., and that's where people don't meet because they're too smart. That's what I would always hear coaching those types of loan officers in those regions. My clients are too smart. They don't want to meet. Well, you didn't build enough value in the meeting. So to me, the setup really is on that initial call. Shayla, there's 3 or 4 dances that we have to have with our referrals. Let's stop calling them leads too, because they're referred. And then that leads 100% into the triangle, which really is how do you know the person? How do you know that person? Right. When they're amplified, this is what I found. When anyone says, oh my God, I met Shayla at church. She's a great realtor, this, that, and the other. Like we've known her, our kids play soccer. By the way, that hook is set right there. Because if I know you have a strong connection to them, I go, oh my God, here's how I met them. She was walking her dog, and then you're laughing. I'm like, and then it's like this. The old triangle was, well, what did they say about me and my services to make you want to, like, it was a setup. I just simply say, hey, did Shayla tell you anything about our process and how we've helped people that she's referred in the past? Did she tell you anything? Ready, Shayla? Every single loan officer should say, did they tell you about our process and how we've helped people that she's referred in the past? That client will either say yes or no. If they say yes, they're probably lying. But if they say yes, they'll say, yeah, she said you were great and that like you have this team and you do this, or no. Either answer gets this. Well, I'm so glad she referred you. One of the things I want to tell you real quick, what is your timeline right now? Can you tell me a couple quick details? The realtor said they're first-time home buyers on a text or something. And then you're going to talk for a second. Well, me and my husband, we live over here and blah, blah, blah. It's just a dance. We're dancing. And you're going to tell me my lease is up in December. Or, hey, our lease is up in May. Woo. Ready? Never split the difference. Never split the difference. This is where I project some type of, hey, it sounds like, Shayla, you're in a stressful situation and you're trying to make a decision in a hurry.
Right.
It sounds like your lease is up in December, so you've got a minute to think about this. Either way, I say this. Hey, well, Betty referred you because I use a process called Smart Start, and it's about a 45-minute to an hour meeting. We could do it via Zoom. I think it's more effective in person. And at the end of that meeting, we're going to have a lot of good outcomes. Like, let's say you're stressed out to the gills. I might ask a couple more questions and try to get you in the next day. I hate those. But, I mean, that's what we have to deal with, right? I've learned to let go of your circumstances, but your circumstances aren't going to dictate my process.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
So if I get 5 leads in a row that are on Thursday that have to make an offer on a Saturday, all right, my Friday is going to be busy, but here's what Phil Jones said. Slow down the process to speed up the execution.
Yeah.
That's critical. And I think that to answer your question, yes, I want people, the longer they drive, the more value they see in my meeting.
Yep.
And
Here's
a key. Hey, Shayla, do you and your husband have a morning off or an afternoon off? Because I try to benchmark my Smart Starts Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10, 11, 1, or 2. That's my mental time to have a Smart Start. Here's why. When you have them at 5:30 at night, when you have them at 7 a.m., and when you have them on a Saturday, they stink. Your team's gone, your brain's scrambled, you're not in the zone, you haven't gotten in your actor seat, you haven't done the Matthew McConaughey, remember the thing where he's beating his chest? Have you ever seen that?
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? And then he's like, all right. And that was just all offshoot. And then they used it in the movie where he's like doing his voice setup. Point being is that if you change your process because the lead has some urgent need and you start to wing it, then it just becomes derailed. You default to some verbal pre-approval and you just did it to edify the realtor and you thought the client needed this lickety split. And you're kind of just throwing everything out the window. Trust me, just so you know, I did that. That's why I got so pissed off. And then there were a couple moments where I'm kicking the trash can going, I'm never doing a loan app on a Saturday morning ever again. I don't care.
Yeah.
Why? Because it disrupts me.
Right. And the point of being a rainmaker is to create the confidence that you can live in abundance and that you can sell from the power seat and attract from the power seat with just clarity that like, I know that I can help you if they don't want what you've got next, right? A rainmaker stands in their power seat and in their process. Now, did you take an 8:30 a.m. this morning? Yes.
Yes,
it's not saying that there's rigidity to a fault, but there's an ideal set of circumstances that drive every part of your conversation to when you first meet a realtor partner to say, this is how I work and why I work this way, to how you talk to a client on the phone and how much urgency you have and how you pre-plan your time blocking so you also are continuing to meet new referral partners because you've thought about it in advance to say, when am I my best? I'm a rainmaker. My number one job is to make it rain and generate leads. My secondary job is to build and maintain relationships. And my third job is to execute. to lead the team to execute at a high level, right? So this is where you get obsessed with getting better all the time. Let's talk about your rainmaker archetype is trust builder, networker. So generally the two archetypes, one opens the door and creates opportunity and one closes the door. I got to imagine that your networking is what opens the door. You get out and you meet people. You have no problem being in a big room and hunting people down and finding a way to interject into a conversation. And then trust builder, you meet a lot of people. You meet your realtors, you have them come in, you do coaching one-on-one, you do a Smart Start one-on-one. Like you get close to people through being a trust builder and creating trust. Did I accurately describe how you've been able to build a referral partner network?
Yeah, I think, early on, I was the rate sheet guy in 1996, going to real estate offices, 10 offices, door-to-door delivery of rate sheets. Eventually that broke down and I was more fascinated with, hey, who's a business person who's selling real estate? Who's a business person who's selling personal finance or accounting? So I was more drawn to do I like this person? I think that, in my 30th year, let me say this, my discernment or ability to want to play that game and meet 5 realtors a week has declined. Do I want to work on more systems and help loan officers? Yes. Could we, Shayla, play the game of, hey, find a Zillow listing 3 blocks from your house, look at the realtor, ring, ring. When they answer, go, hey, I'm Shayla. I'm calling about 123 Oak Street. And they go, yeah. And they think you're a buyer. And you go, oh my God, it's in my neighborhood. Congratulations. How did you get that listing? And then they tell you, and then you tell them you're a lender. And then you say, hey, my goal is to keep my property values high. I've got all these marketing systems. When's your next open house? Can we meet? Let's do that. By the way, if we had 50 loan officers and we all did it, we'd meet a realtor, figure it out. Here's my thing. As I've gotten older, I feel like I want to target, my target is more people who they kind of want to get their business finances and their business together. And if I see an opportunity where they treat their business like a business, whether they're like a 1-year realtor, 1-year financial planner, or 10 or 20, I feel like there's opportunity because then they'll come in. We can talk a little bit more about their procedures. And that's just my angle at my phase in my career. Was I like that 5 years in? And I think you understand the evolution, but the curiosity to want to meet someone who has a list of clients that need your help and engage in that meeting and listen, is just an always thing. And right now, I had left Jason Jacobs. We traded messages this morning. He's like my Tiger Woods right now, just flushing the ball because he's so engaged in winning, a clear presentation, a clear avenue to get him at night even or in the morning. I'm going to play golf. I'm going to be with my daughter. I'm going to make dinner, but then I'm committed to this. And then his realtor meetings are laser targeted on how I can benefit you. And the only way you'll know is if you try me. Duh. He's killing it. Yeah. I love that. It's like, do that. Allison, it's just like playing the violin. It was like you back in the day, whatever you were doing, that presentation to the realtor corresponded with value and trust. Whatever you were doing with the client, value and trust. Here's the funnel, make it grow. So
Good.
right now for me, here's what I probably need to do is I need to get a better targeted list that's fed to me. That's like, oh, this person was listed in this article and they had this development over there and they just did this video. Then I'm interested. Oh my God, call them. I'm not afraid like you to just pick up the phone. Hey, I'm interested in the music business. Let me call some producers and publishers and fly to Nashville. We're like that, but only if we have enough info to then go.
You have Jesse on your team who wants to be an LO, who found us on Instagram and said, I want to learn. And I said, well, great. You got to work with Brendan in Nashville and he can teach you what clubs to take out of your bag and how to swing the clubs. And you can watch him and be in an office and learn. And so for anybody that's listening, that's in Nashville, you've got to go sit with Brendan as he does a Smart Start. How many producing managers today can you go sit with and watch them swing the club and that have a 30-year perfected process that they love and are obsessed to teach, like Brendan has with his Smart Start.
Yeah, I love
So
it.
I think that Jessie, somebody who's new and hustling,
Yeah.
could provide you the list. You work the
Yeah.
list and have her watch.
Yeah.
And this is how you're getting to be the sage. And in this part of your career where you're being an effective leader and an influential leader.
Sure.
And she's still in a brand new part of her career where she's in the bet on myself.
64 days in.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how we help each other, right?
Yeah.
So I want to just remark on the fact that one of the things about becoming a rainmaker and buying into embodying a rainmaker, which is I create awesome opportunity for people. I sell from the power seat. I'm systematic in what I do. I believe in what I do. I'm convicted in it. I'm going to find a way to enjoy the hell out of it because rainmakers are not grumpy. They are having fun and they're working on becoming exceptional. But you will then attract a higher level person because you will start saying, I want to partner and work with other rainmakers. I want to partner and work with other business people who happen to sell real estate because your identity is evolving. You will attract people whose identity is evolving. But you can't be over here wishy-washy, riding the roller coaster, not committed to a process and go, I need better partners. You got to be better first to attract the better and know that you deserve it. And I think that that's hopefully at the end of this call, you're going, I'm committed to that. I want to just finish off by saying, Brendan loves to coach and has coached for 20 something years. And he loves to grow newer people in our business. He also loves to challenge the heck out of us that I, like me, who've been doing it 20 years. And I was like, oh, really, Shayla, tell me about your presentation. And how do you close? And what do you say? He is a challenger. And I think that more than anyone, I've heard about this book, The Challenger Sale, for years, but I've actually never read it. And I yet watch you challenge people in a way with love and like, I respect you, I admire you, but have you ever thought of XYZ? You do this in your branch locally. You do this with me at my Slay with Shay events. You do this in our team calls. We have our sales calls, but you also host something called The Locker Room. How would people find out about The Locker Room? When do you do it? And what can they expect to learn or, mastermind on in your locker rooms?
So locker rooms on Wednesday mornings at 10 Central. The premise is that there's a roadmap filled with a bunch of boxes, right? The roadmap to loan officer success. And so we created that years ago. And it just is, okay, here's a foundation. Here's 5 boxes that keep that foundation. And then as you grow, there's layers that grow, right?
Yeah, I love your roadmap.
Yeah, and no one would tell a brand new loan officer to invite 30 realtors to a happy hour the way Dixie Sanders did it when she was mastering the happy hour. The happy hour is like stage 3 of marketing where 30 realtors that you'd want to pay $400 to have them come drink with you. Like, get it? So like there's things that you need to learn. We talk about it all.
How do they find you, Brendan? Are they going to email you? Are they going to get on Instagram? How do they get the Zoom link?
The Ultimate Business Partners is on Instagram, ultimatebusinesspartners.com. And I don't have the login on me right now.
Okay. And you can DM me and I can connect you to Brendan. He's also on Instagram as well.
Yeah, if you DM me on Instagram, I would give you the link to get on the call. It's free. It's every Wednesday. We go for about 30 to 45 minutes. It's never scripted, but we know what we're talking about at the beginning. And I like to include the calls, some calls have had 20 plus people on, but I like to get feedback. And, sometimes we just go around the horn and we're like, here, what is your biggest struggle with X? Because we're talking about that today. Male, female, young, old, it does not matter. If you want to learn, that's how you come. Shayla, to answer your kind of big thing on the Challenger sale and bringing that up, you need to read it because it's a study. It's not really a book. It's a study on sales behavior that an institute did. Okay. And then they categorized the top producers and they labeled them. And then what they did is said, here are the 3 biggest traits of each top producer. So there was the friend maker, the lone wolf, the hard worker, the problem solver, and the challenger. And the lowest producer in the highest set of those 5 was the one that was the friend maker.
Yep.
And by the way, all the CEOs picked the friend maker in the blind test to build. Before they knew, they just heard the title and what they were strong at. 91% of the CEOs picked the friend maker. And it was like, oh my God. And so here's the funny part. The challenger is it's just the belief, Shayla, that when you know that you have the prize, like you have all the information, and someone says, hi, Shayla, I have a question about a mortgage, or I'm calling you about a loan. Your immediate assumption as a challenger is that your client doesn't even know what they want.
Right.
The challenger believes that their prospect doesn't have enough information to make a decision, and it's my job to kind of give it to you and to help you see it. So it's not that complicated. The friend salesperson immediately believes that if you and I tell them, hey, we know what we want, they're like, well, let's get in and hug. I want you to like me first.
Right.
So that's it. Yes.
I'm so happy you said that. I will read it because I think that also kind of, it really helps when you get a visual. And this is the reason I've chosen to pick Rainmaker, is that I think when you can actually start imagining a Rainmaker, how do they dress? How do they talk? How would they respond to that kind of question? And you can start embodying, and you could go, ooh, this is where I'm showing up weak. This is where I'm not believing in myself. This is where I have a lot of self-doubt. This is where I'm acting frantic. And you could start going, well, what would a Rainmaker do? And listening to all of these podcast guests, what would a Sean Herrero do? What would a Jason Jacobs do? What would a Brendan Donelson do? What would, Amanda Ray do? And then you can start refining the how, which is exactly how we started in this. There's 3 beliefs that you crushed here today. The first one is that most clients are not in a rush. So why would we rush our process? We need to uncover what their real timeline is. And we need to sell the heck out of that middle pillar, which is the advice giving bucket, not just rushing to a loan app and a pre-approval, because any AI can do that and any call center can do that. The second thing that you debunked is that ultimately people want advice. In your referral matrix, you've identified all the different kinds of buyers, and even move-up buyers and even investor buyers and everything else. They want advice. And I could tell you, I'm a leader, but I want to be led. I want to, and I'm a strong personality, as are you. And if somebody comes in at me like, I got you, this is what we need to do, I feel safe. I relax.
You're like, yeah, totally.
Thank you. Please take charge, because I'm hiring you for a reason. If I knew how to do this and solve this problem myself, I would already, right?
Yes. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah.
The third thing is that you told me it took you a long time to realize that clients want more than an interest rate and a payment. Yeah. And it's once you realized that it was more than that you really started learning to be a presentation rock star. And that if you're an actor and you're a presenter, you have tools, you have props, and you have a meeting. So I'm really honored that you came on and did this with me today, Brendan. I think everybody would like to do less and have more fun, meaning chase less leads, chase less referral partners. How about just chasing less? How about being the prize and knowing that what you do matters and feeling like that's okay. We don't have to create this crazy urgency, because when they do drive across town and they do an all about you form and they expose why they want to work with a local lender, and if they have any financial advisors, investment people, insurance people in their corner, and they realize that they know very little about the process, and you become the expert advisor to them with all the love and care of like, you love people, Brendan. Like you want to know about this barber story and like you love people. Exactly. And people can feel that, that then you're in the power seat. It's why I think you've never given up originating. Plus, I know that you love to be in the weeds, helping loan officers and saying, oh yeah, I had this happen to me yesterday. Let me tell you what I did with it.
Well, it's kind of like player coach, right? So I'll close with this, and this almost brings a tear to my eye. You can lose passion. So hiring Jesse, The client that had the $799 that went under contract for $735 came in for an in-person. She's making $170, fiance making $125. They work on Music Row, referred by my best realtor. Anyways, they're all about you. Their dream vacation is Italy. The other day, I said to Jesse, hey, they're now under contract. They're closing May, whatever. We're locking them. And Jessie is like a breath of fresh air. And she's like, hey, what gift are we going to get them for their closing? Like, I'm ready to spend your money. And I'm like sitting there like, because I said to her when I was training her, the reason why we do the fun part is I asked them these things because I want to buy a coffee table book for them that is scenes of Italy. And on the front, it says, Danielle and Nick, thank you for trusting me with your mortgage. I hope your dream vacation to Italy happens soon. Brendan and the team, right? And what if it's a $100 book? What if it's a $50 book or a $10 book? Who cares? That'll stay in there. And I don't have to put Brendan at Guildmore. Like, it's just, they know. They know that I listened and that we talked about this stuff. Anyways, when Jesse was saying that, like some deal was blowing up and there was like some annoying thing going on. And I was like, it was like your daughter coming up. Yeah, mom, we get to blow out the candles. And I was like, you're right. So the funny part is sometimes you do good stuff when you're young in your career and you have all these great tools. And then like recently, I have not done the order some cool gift for a client or said, hey, it's just kind of mandatory every single time we should do this. And that where you were like, this is where you are. Here's the 3 things. I'm like, well, there's always something I'm screwing up, right?
Yes.
And you and I bond in that way where it's like, well, we forgot that time. So that's kind of like, hopefully, if you're listening, like Shayla said, if you want anything, I'm an open door. Call, text, find us. We'll give you something. We'll help. And Shayla, you're the best. Like this idea of just interviewing all the people you know. I was watching the Jason Jacobs. I started listening to Josh the other day. I love it. I want you to get the whole roster selfishly so I can just hear it all. Thank you so much.